Welcome to the Dresden Files podcast.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
You did
I was
amazing.
about to say something too.
Yeah, good
Oh,
timing.
Topic. British accents and why that makes you a part of the Dresden Files.
All right, Andres, you started it off, man. You're on the hook now. Do the intro, man.
I don't remember the intro. That's you.
Welcome to the Dresden Files podcast,
I said that.
starring
Part of the
starring
Broken Network.
Andreas, featuring Jacob, and
Featuring my cat.
Yeah, say
Hey,
the cat's
cat.
No, let Ben say the cat's name.
the cat's name is Fluffy.
Nope.
No,
Come on. I taught you last time.
Cookie. No, it's something. It's some kind of pastry, isn't it?
Yes.
Danish,
Besser.
obviously.
His name is Besser.
Which is, I mean, it's like Sweetheart or something like Sweetums.
Well,
Cutesy.
it's also a pastry.
It is a pastry. Okay, yeah, I knew it. Right.
It's also a bass guitar, kind of.
Well,
Just a lot of,
so we,
lot of
should we-
things.
Should we do the news
So,
bit first
news
before
about
Andres?
Dresden Files this week.
Is there any news this week?
I think Justin has something he wants to say.
I mean, I really want to do the ha! Told you! Okay, so I did. I had it both ways. I regret nothing. But yeah, so got you. So the show, it looks like it is happening, or at least it's more happening than it was a month ago, which was no news. But basically, Jim has signed some rights for Fox 21 Studios. Is that what we were seeing?
It's a production company. Yeah.
So there is a company who's interested in making a show, which I want to draw the distinction because it's not the same thing as the show is actually happening and they're actually like rolling tape and they have casting done and stuff like that. But Jim has gone on the offensive, it looks like, on Reddit and I'm sure elsewhere, just kind of saying like, whoa, we still got to do the things and the stuff. And, we should cast some people before we have a show and whatnot, but it looks like he is going to be more involved creatively. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. There's a lot of positive, and it's happening, as opposed to last show it was, well, there's not really news. You can't. There's the ink hasn't dried, the check hasn't cleared, etc.
I do
But
hope
this
now that
time-
he's talking about it, the check has cleared and not bounced.
Right.
I mean, so the production company means that like someone is happy to make the show, but they still don't have a place to air it, people actually working on anything. It's just people are happy to do it if they can find all of the rest of the important bits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's basically something on the menu for them to choose and then see if they make a pilot and so on and so on.
Right.
As far as we know, there might be more, but just hasn't been released.
Right.
And
Maybe
they're
those
willing to
checks
give
bounced.
him far more, it seems, involvement. So that can only be a plus. But yeah, so at least it's moving in the right direction.
So anyway, Dresden Files TV show's happening. Ian Somerhalder, I'm putting you on notice. Clear your calendar.
Yes, for you.
James Marsters,
Your persistent viewing.
and all
And
CGI
James
characters.
Masters.
Two-
Yeah,
As long as those two are in, I'm happy.
There you go. Go get your dream casting email list together and start emailing all your favorite actors and actresses and tell them to go hit the studio up and be like, I want to work for free. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's see
James
how quickly
Marsters
we
is
can
too-
derail this.
Was
Let's see how quickly we can derail this by emailing everyone in Hollywood that they need to be part of this show.
it? Completely poison the well.
Yep.
Right.
Marsters would still do it.
I hope so.
yeah.
Guess what? I hope he does all the voices. I hope he dresses up in drag.
Yeah,
for
it'll be a full Eddie Murphy type deal where he's just every character.
the Nutty Wizard.
I mean, honestly,
There's
if
an
Marsters
outlet.
isn't involved in some fashion, we're all going to be very disappointed.
Like he's literally just the first corpse, and then that's it.
That would be good.
Yeah, he's
He's not Tommy Tom either. He's what's her name?
I got it better. So we're going to go 11 seasons and we'll never see Marsters. And then he's going to be the friggin' guy in Demon Reach that we still don't know who it is. He's
There
going to
you
be the guy.
Mm.
So,
To be he who walks beside or something.
right.
You know what? He'll be the narrator the whole time.
There,
We'll never actually see him. We'll just hear his voice.
Dresden's internal monologue.
Yeah.
Or you
why
just
not?
or you
British.
just tease. He'll just say the Dresden Files, and then that's it during the intro for the show. Just tease you every single time.
And they copied it off the audiobook. Like, they didn't even get him in. They just copied it off the audiobook.
Okay, so we get it getting off the rails. Like, we got crazy theories to talk about, and
Yeah, that Andreas was really drumming up incitement for last time. So come on.
Yeah, but then they just like instantly shut me down after the show, and like, oh, that's not like we've thought about this like 10 years ago.
well,
What I believe what specifically was said was, yes, I agreed with you once upon a time. Not anymore, but I did.
We're dancing around it and we're not explaining it.
Yep.
I still don't know
Andreas.
what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, do we even need to at this point? It's a washed up theory. Like, it's already been shut down.
People have been waiting 2 weeks to hear it, man, and we got nothing else to talk about. So you better.
That's
a
true.
talk show,
We
man.
can devote at least 10 minutes to this.
Right? Come on.
I mean, okay.
Do
So
you want me to do it for you?
no, it's fine.
Please.
My theory is that like the big decision that Jim talks about, big quote unquote, but the decision that he like makes this whole alter Harry that comes and kidnaps our Harry in Mirror Mirror that we've been told will happen. That is not, as some people think, like killing or joining the Red Court or whatever. I think it's a red herring, and it's much simpler than that. And that's just like he says to Susan that he loves her, and that stops her from trying to like eat him, so he doesn't have to kill her in self-defense. I think he doesn't say "I love you," has to kill her in self-defense, and that whole path of self-loathing is sent him down a darker path. I think that's the decision. That's my theory.
So at the end of Grave Peril, the decision that leads to evil Harry, at least from our perspective, is not joining up with the Red Court or not. He's still, so at the end you're saying he still destroys them because maybe he's mad at them, for making him kill Susan.
Because he's like pissed that he had to kill Susan.
Right.
Maybe even more violently than he did in the books. Like, who knows?
Right. I thought of a new wrinkle, but I don't know. Does anybody? I mean, Jacob, you said once upon a time that was your theory as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have long since come around to the idea that it's just a lot simpler and it makes a lot more sense that the decision at the end is him letting them have Susan, and they still blame him for the war anyway because he gets the double whammy. That to me just makes the most sense. But at first I thought
Harry, if up until that point he's the same Harry, which he's like, I think he said that's true. Then he would never do that. He would never ever do that.
I mean, the whole problem with going down that rabbit hole is every decision people come up with, even the ones early on, like leaving Michael at the party. None of this is technically that in character for Harry. You're always going to have a little bit of a most people trying to rationalize it and having trouble with it. Killing Susan, he's gonna, between that and saying I love you, well, he's obviously gonna say I love you because he did, and that's what I'm.
But that just feels more plausible to me that that's a decision that could go either way because he had so much trouble saying it earlier, and he's scared of like losing the people he says he loves. Like, I feel like that's way more questionable if he does it or not than actually just saying, yeah, sure, let's join the Red Court, or like you can have her.
I'd keep in mind that in these first early books, remember, Harry's completely talking about, I have such a dark side. This would just be an occasion where he feeds that instead. And I think that's the more natural fit.
I don't think it actually would be described that way, though, because, I mean, the way that he's describing the decision of letting Susan go to the Red Court or taking her back from them is how many lives are worth the one life. And he decides that all the lives are worth for one life because that's what's worth fighting for, one loved life. But if he just weighs it on the other side of just the numbers, that you have to go with the majority of people to save. I'm doing the right thing by trying to save the most amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way that he has already described the decision and how it would have to be weighted. He's not feeding into evil. He's actually trying to do the good thing.
Right. And to me, I mean, it's so fitting that, like the epic moment of Grave Peril, like Pyro Fuego, really cool. Don't get me wrong, but that the dialogue there with him and Bianca, with just the whole like she gives him the thing and he's just like, I love her, and she's like, what? It's like, I love her, you know. And then they just have this thing, and you know he gets his old wizardy monologue of, you know, for one life, there's no other reason to fight a war, and you're going to see that again in Changes. Like to see it split on that moment. You know, to me that makes the most sense. But obviously, like we discussed, you know, 2 weeks ago when we had to find out early, we're like, come on, we can't wait 2 weeks. This is crazy, you know. But there are countless little decisions, and it may be that Jim is more subtle. It could split the difference. He doesn't say I love you, and something else happens, and therefore he doesn't have this epic moment because he doesn't have, you know, I love her in my head. So he does let her go, and that does still drag him down a darker path. My main hesitation for siding with the I love you and the new wrinkle that I thought about is the first I love you stops her from eating him, right? She like he was completely helpless. So unless he got some other little burst, like this was before the Kravos, like before eating Kravos and getting his mojo back and all of this other stuff. So like unless he was hiding a steak in his, you know, other pocket or something like that, then you know that's the new wrinkle I have for that particular theory. But it could still be something else.
Helpless, like every time he just basically rises to the occasion anyway. So there would just be some Deus Ex Machina, like, okay, I got so angry, I'm so sad, and then boom, blam, and he killed her.
Well, and I could buy that if there was some like in the middle of her eating him, like he hulks out and becomes like a half Red Court vampire or some nonsense, and now we've got the dark and misunderstood Harry Dresden or something. But yeah, I don't know another mechanism.
Would get along great.
Right? They were like, man, I'm so thirsty. Are you? Yeah, dude, totally. I know what you mean.
Yeah, man.
It would also be easier if there was a moment while he was down there where he, you know, because like how we're talking about at the end decision, how he's teetering on the edge of what he's going to do. If there had been a moment when he's down there with just her and Justine and he could feel, all right, I could draw this little bit of power to sucker punch her, and then he decided instead to say I love you. If we had some sort of indication that he had anything at all, but he didn't.
Right.
And that's why he was in the situation he was in.
Well,
right.
I will say that right there when he's with Susan and he sees her eyes, well, actually, never mind. I was thinking her mirror tone spectacles, but that's at the beginning of the party. But there are several occasions in this book where he talks about mirrors and not liking mirrors. I wonder if that works into it at all.
Yeah, in mirror, but I don't think that's going to save him. Like the problem is like I can go off and I can imagine a bunch of different ways for this to happen, but it kind of violates the main premise, which is the decision that changes at the end of Grave Peril is what kicks off the mirror universe, and it's Mirror Harry that drags ours into it. Like if we didn't already know that much, then it'd be, you know, Harry through some kind of shenanigans, because it's Harry, falls into an alternate universe back in time where he jostles his elbow and, you know, causes this thing to happen. But we know that's not the case, you know. So the mirror thing is very relevant to the ultimate story, but not to like what the decision is. And that's why, like, I think it'd be stupid that it's not the mirror gate, you know, that it somehow gets involved in the ritual that he goes to. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure that's the sculpture. So Google Chicago Mirror Gate, and it's like, dude, why wouldn't you use that? It's basically, the jelly bean. So
people keep clamoring for that to be a thing, so might as well.
Right. It would be a waste not to, but you know, whatever. It doesn't have to be, but yeah, it very much in this book, especially, I remember him talking about how he doesn't have mirrors in his house, and it even comes up in Summer Night, and you know, because like Michael starts giving him crap about shaving, and
why the fuck would you call that thing a gate? It's a bean.
Ask the artist. Don't judge their art. They're an artist. You don't know how hard it is or something. I don't know.
Art is never finished. It's only abandoned.
Oh, sure, but that's not a gate. It is a
Not with
bean.
that attitude.
Maybe it got frozen in mid formation. Like maybe instead of cutting reality, he folds it in on itself,
Maybe
and then
it's
it turns
about the
into a gate.
discourse. Maybe it's about the objection to it being a gate. Do you think about that?
Maybe it's gatekeeping, and you're trying to make it not.
Okay.
I do look forward to jokes about Harry being unshaven, or like I just can imagine, since Jim has confirmed that Mirror is going to have eye patches and goatees, that maybe Harry's just trying to shave one like lazy morning, and he only gets halfway done before he gets transported to an alternate universe. He's just running around half shaved.
Just on
That
the
would
sides.
be pretty funny.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, what else? Don't we know that? Isn't he an ally of? Is it Maeve? He's an ally of Maeve in the alternate
Mavra.
reality.
Mavra.
Oh, it is Mavra.
Mavra is quote unquote a fast ally of Dresden's in Mirror.
But he didn't
But
specify
Oh.
which Dresden.
No, he did not
Probably.
specify which
Maybe he's just,
Dresden
like,
or
in a-
which Mavra or whether that, what that entails.
Yeah. Okay.
Dresden.
So, I think we all know, though. Like,
It's
I mean, you
most
could
likely.
speculate, but yeah, exactly.
Wait, Black Court vampires aren't supposed to show up in mirrors, are they?
Well, actually, I don't know that was ever specifically described.
In
They-
Dracula,
Yeah, but I like as part of the
Would this
Black
this
Court
Dark
thing.
or Harry? Wouldn't he have done the Dark Hollow? Or did he never get around to like getting them?
and that's kind of the speculation, right? Like, I mean, theoretically, right? So we're 3 books in, and we've been saying that Cal and Komori seem to have been in Chicago for a long time, possibly setting up the Dark Hallow. So presumably it was going to happen. You know what? No, now that you guys mentioned the whole Mavra thing, like it did go down the same way. The difference is she didn't have to blackmail him in the
Could
dark
possibly be.
side. Yeah, like in the mirror. She was like, "Hey minion, hey buddy, whatever he is, like go do the thing, do me a solid, go get the book," instead of like, "Hey, I've got pictures of your not quite a girlfriend cop,"
I mean, honestly, Mavra wouldn't have needed to do anything. Just tell him that, hey, necromancers are going to do something, and they're going to kill a whole bunch of people unless you stop them. And then he has to run around and do that because he's compulsive that way. She didn't actually have to get the pictures of Murphy involved.
But she's evil.
Yeah, so she did that
So the
just
whole
to make it harder for him.
compassion thing probably didn't like.
I don't know about that because there are certain
Protecting your
aspects.
hope,
Like
I completely
Matt, for
understand.
example, doesn't have to bend Harry over a barrel every time, but it's also what's more likely to get you the result. You just tell Harry necromancers running around. Okay, sure, but there's always a slight chance that maybe he doesn't have as much invested in it as, hey, I'm threatening your friend.
I think it's one step further. She didn't need to do it to get Harry to stop the Dark Hallow. She needed to do it so she could get the book
And then
because
she's not
she
used
wanted
it
the
since.
word. Right, but we don't know if she can use it. We don't know if she's just doing it to protect herself or what her motivations are. So, like, because that's part of it as well. Like, to be determined. So, and maybe she does pull it off in Mirror. Like maybe Dresden gets pulled through a mirror, and it's like, holy shit, Chicago's a bombed out disaster because guess what? Like that's one of the things I have a problem with is like if we do the like side by side, like I've watched a whole lot of Mirror Star Trek, so it's like if you go down the Mirror parallel universe and map out the timeline and shit, like who stopped the Dark Hallow? That's one of the first big things I run into. Her Scourge. Who stopped that? Did Murphy just phone up Kincaid on her own and stop them in blood rights? Like it just there's a whole lot of bad shit that Harry would not have theoretically been around for unless we've got some other twisted motivation for him to do that. So yeah, like I could easily see the Dark Hallow goes off and Mavra did it or Harry did it, but that would kind of make sense why he's super powerful, but at the same time, like it doesn't justify the having to kill himself to hide from the White Council.
If he's an equal to Mab, there's one, no way Harry's beating him, and two, there's no reason for him to fake his own death. Who the hell's taking him?
Right. Yeah, I mean, the White Council still would know his true name theoretically, unless he killed Morgan, because Morgan at least knew enough of it.
Well, Ebenezer knows his name too.
Ebenezer,
the one to worry about, but even then,
right.
I mean, and if he's an equal of Mab, will Mab call in the favor? I wonder too. He doesn't owe Mab a favor, or well,
not. I mean,
Well,
certainly
yeah.
not.
It starts in Summer Night, whereas where the favors start.
Yeah.
well, but he has outstanding favors to Leia already, and
Right.
Leia has just been infected.
Well, so
Well, yeah,
Leia
she
sold
sells
the
him.
mortgage to Mab. Mab
Right,
gets
right.
3 favors,
Exactly
of
right.
which small favor, and then in changes that goes away because it becomes the Winter Knight.
Well, exactly
But-
right. So
No, it doesn't.
So alternate
That's
Harry.
well, that's not correct. He doesn't. There is still that other favor, but
No. She said, at some point in like small favor or something that like if you become the Winter Knight, those favors go away.
Right,
That
but that
time
wasn't
on
part of
that.
the deal they made.
I thought
We'll
there
see,
was
'cause
When you read the
Yeah,
changes
yeah.
deal, it's not there, and then there was a word to Jim later that technically he still owes it to her, but it doesn't really matter right now because
He's the Knight. Yeah.
But
right.
the idea is if he ever loses the mantle, she could still call on him for one final thing, which is why she still technically has her hooks in him even then.
Would you just
Right.
the value person in me who plays like card games and stuff is just really annoyed by that.
Why?
Like, okay, you got 2 down, 1 favor to go. Let's take the deal. You could have avoided that. Just taking the deal right and not done the favors.
Yeah, you don't seem to understand the whole not wanting to be the Winter Knight thing. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Then just keep doing it. Keep saying no.
because like with the rare
His back was
exception,
broken, and his daughter was in South America about to be murdered.
right?
That's what you got the Dark Hallow for. Let's get some Dark
Which he
Harry.
almost
Takes
did.
way too much time.
Those were the options, but he
Yeah.
decided to go with the least evil option, which turned out to be Mab, and a bad deal according to you.
And what's scary is probably the second least evil option was picking up a denarian coin. So let that sink in. So just so we're clear, Andreas is in team full evil because he's like, he should have just done the Dark Hallow.
Full Dark God.
You know? Yeah. Should have just killed all those innocent children at the dinosaur museum.
I mean, he could have done it somewhere else. He could have done the Dark Hallow at Chichen Itza. Who knows?
People gots to die, bro.
I would like to-
People are gonna die.
I would like to
Like-
contrast this, how you seem to think that Harry should go full on kill hundreds of people to save his daughter, but the idea that he would give up Susan to save hundreds of people is beyond the pale.
What do you mean?
You were talking about how it seems like a red herring and totally out of character for Harry to, give Susan up. He's going to save hundreds and thousands of people, but it's okay if he kills hundreds and thousands of people instead on his own.
I mean, I don't think Harry would make that choice. I was just saying what I would do because I'm evil.
I was gonna say I'm suddenly worried about the morality on that side of the pond. Like I thought we were the people that had a bunch of evil terrorists running around. Like,
Yeah, you are. I mean,
No, they're just quieter about it.
oh, I see.
They make you believe.
The most
If they're
passive
like-
aggressive domestic terrorists ever.
I buy
They
it.
park across 2 spaces in the parking lot,
Oh wow, yeah.
talk in a theater.
That's especially evil because they like their personal space. So yeah. All right. So anyway,
But
Long story short-
follow. Oh, I think it would, on this, I think it would
Mhm.
following EG's point, if you had Harry sacrifice Susan to save people from having a war, that would also fit Harry sacrificing hundreds of thousands of people to save billions. So Dark Hollow Harry really does fit with Harry sacrificing Susan if that's the decision he makes.
Well, in mentality, but
in mentality,
I mean,
it would follow.
narratively, unless he's doing it like the mini version that Kemler did, where he would, bind a couple ghosts to himself to give himself a power up here and there.
He might say, "I'll join you, but I won't be a vampire." They're like, "Ooh, good," or whatever. I don't know, whatever.
Well, either way, his evil self is going to have some form of personal agency. Like, he's not going to be anyone's stooge.
Right.
Even if he's a Denarian, he's going to be 50-50 with Lashiel, kind of like Nick is with Unduriel.
Yeah, I wonder actually, like about Denarians and how much the ones who are in true partnership, how much they are like serving the Denarian cause, and how much it's just like, yeah, let's just fuck shit up because we can. Like I feel like if Harry made the deal with Lashiel, like took Lashiel in, they would be equal partners, or Harry would be even the boss, maybe.
Right.
Right.
So he wouldn't necessarily do Denarian objectives.
Well, I'd say that from a meta level. I think, yeah, that's how Jim would write it, just because it'd be more interesting than Harry being a thug.
Yeah.
I don't know that
He'd
Harry's
still-
character could have a personal
If you
strength.
want to do the other Denarians, and like if there's like a Denarian who's like got such a strong-willed human he doesn't fall in line, do they like, okay, he's got to go so we can give the coin to someone else?
I just wonder, because the more I think about these choices, the more it's like, okay, so if we accept that maybe he does Dark Owl type things, but on a mini level, that could work. Being a
Right.
Denarian, technically, does that break the pattern? And do we count it as breaking the pattern because they're in an alternate reality? And then the other option is Winter Night, but then that's redundant.
Right. Well, and because that's my thinking a little bit as well. Like he's probably going to have some kind of power up, right? Similar to what Dresden did. Otherwise, it's not really a match still.
Right.
I guess the other question that brings up, sorry, side rail, we'll go back to that later. But when he's in the mirror universe, does he still keep the Winter Mantle? But in any case, like I could. That's why it's like it would make sense for him to be Vampire Harry, but if for some reason he kept his human status, then maybe he picked up the coin in Death Masks, for example, or he's like, hey, you guys are the new thing in town, give me one of them coins, who knows? But yeah, like I think he'd have something along that level.
Right.
So
I mean, a mini Dark Owl version seems at least to be the thing that would make him stronger than Harry, therefore making it a problem. And this is why he's summoning people, but not full on, Dark God taking on Mab type deal. Because then
I could see that being a mirror level threat, though, if he is full Dark Hollow, because there might be a Peace Talks upgrade. Also,
right, but again, then why is he bothering? What does he need to fake his own death for if he's on the same power level?
Yeah, I wasn't worried about
Right.
that.
because all of the signatories of the Accords are coming to get him.
Okay,
Shit,
but
man,
then wouldn't you
he
think that?
done goof something up real good if that happens.
That's
Wouldn't
what
you think
Peace
people of that level would kind of clue in? Wow, this was a little easy.
Yeah, in Peace Talks in the Mirror Universe, that's what it's about. It's not like it's Peace Talks, so we can be like, look, we fucking hate each other, but we gotta fucking kill Dresden, so. And then they still don't pull it off for some reason. That's why we have book 17.
Mm-hmm.
I was given. Yeah, I want to backtrack just a little bit because I've been giving more thought to Andreas's thing, and we've been, especially because we've been talking about like what's more in Harry's character and things like that. And I think we could split the difference. Like if his thing was he doesn't say I love you to Susan, we're gonna have to introduce some kind of MacGuffin that gets him out of being eaten. But other than that, that at that point would be subtle enough and would make more sense why he doesn't have his whole like, well, I love her showdown with Bianca, right? So at the same time, like, because we kind of discussed this 2 weeks ago after the show as well. Like, it may be a more subtle decision that he ends up not following through on 2 or 3 other things, but by then he's already down the path and it's done.
The reason I definitely think it's going to be more subtle is that I don't think Jim would have said it's his decision in the end of Great Peril if it was the obvious one.
Why?
Sure.
Because I just don't think Jim would do that. He likes to lie, quote unquote, to us and then surprise us.
I mean, you can't lie about everything. He's pretty upfront about.
But then he just
some
wouldn't
things.
say anything.
Maybe, yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
but I mean, let's face it. You get people. So now you have this big decision at the end of Grave Peril. I don't think. I mean, this is my personal opinion. I don't think if he has an ulterior motive with saying that, is to get people to guess what the decision is. I think it's more to guess, well, how is he going to be different?
Right.
What's going to spawn off from then?
And that could be like the least interesting part is what's the decision. The more
Right, because at the end of the day, he's evil.
Right.
How he got there is almost irrelevant.
Right. Yeah, it becomes like, who's got the eye patch? What is Marcone doing? Why is Mab? Why?
Marcone is totally gonna be the good guy in that universe instead
He's
of
the
like
good guy in this universe.
he's like an anti-hero at best.
I think he definitely kicks off something like the Better Future Society earlier. Like, it'd be funny if it's like, well, surprisingly, things worked out pretty much the same, except that like Harry's apartment burned down a whole lot earlier, and some other stuff like that. But it's like, because at the end of the day, it's Harry's decision that changed it. So Marco doesn't suddenly become like a Knight of the Cross, right? He doesn't suddenly just become a devout Catholic and start going to school. He's still fucking evil. Now maybe he might get a sword and maybe he might employ it or something like that, but he's not suddenly just like Sonya. He's not Michael's backup or carrying it on his own or anything like that.
I mean,
So
an evil Dresden, quote unquote evil, might make Marcone experience things that turns him to the path of the light and like become a knight. It's not that I don't think that happens. I don't know whose theory that is, but I mean, but it could happen.
it's your theory, but you're like, whoa, no,
No. I don't think that Marcone will become a knight. I don't know who.
Oh yeah,
not
I want to say I saw that somewhere. It might have been me, but it's just like, because if you the first iteration, so it's mirror, so everything is opposite. So you're like, cool, Murphy's a bad guy, she's a biker gang, and Marcone's a Knight of the Cross, and Harry's a lawyer or something. And then it's like, no, dude, like cycle it back. You got one decision.
Maggie is well adjusted.
Yeah, right. Maggie's actually short for like majestic because it's a boy's name. I don't know, like whatever. But yeah, it just, you got to cycle it all back to that one change. And because it's not like, in Star Trek, it was like all the way back, like the mirror universe was the mirror universe from the start. In this case, it's just one decision. So we've only got 8 books. No, 12 books to cycle back,
Well, since World War II, I believe, technically. Well, maybe a little earlier.
I mean, if the Mavra hint hints
yeah.
at anything, it seems more like it's going to be a book where we're going to see a bunch of strange bedfellows and alliances due to, maybe Marcone hooks up with Lara sooner, or because he's still got the whole Vateron connection.
Right.
Yes. You have a question.
Yes, and it's not exactly related to this.
You mean the mirror topic on our second Grave Peril podcast?
Yeah. It's Mavra. And it's kind of like the questions that we've had about Elaine is like, is she in league with the Black Court and something? But that doesn't really make sense in terms of the book White Knight, because Elaine is fighting against Black Court Cal, who's working with the White Court. Blah, blah, and, it doesn't really make sense. So in Deadbeat, Mavra is setting up Harry to go up against Cal and Komori, which assumes then that she's not on the same side as Cal and Komori. But she would obviously have been exposed to them from Bianca and the party.
Maybe. They were passed off as the help at Bianca's party.
But they gave gifts.
Yeah.
They are the ones who gave the gifts.
Didn't say anything.
And it almost seemed like they were trying to imply that they were the reason that Bianca and Mavra got in touch with each other.
Maybe. But they're not.
So what if they got in touch with each other because of her, that she knows them? Doesn't mean they're friends or that wants.
It's kind of almost leave it a little bit dubious as to whether Mavra's, what is she doing? Is she in league with Cal Komori a little bit? It's not specified either way.
Mm-hmm.
No.
But it does make you wonder how much she knows of what they're doing. Like, why did she set up Dresden to go up against them in Deadbeat? Who is she going to be helping, and what is she going to be doing in Mirror Mirror?
I feel like the Dresden Files follows under everybody knows what's going on except for Harry. So whenever it's like, why would Mab do that? Because she fucking knows what's going on. Why would Mavra do that? Because she fucking knows what's going on. So I think generally everybody wants the status quo. I think Mavra's motivations mostly are like, she wants to make the Black Council or the Black Court great again. But I don't think she wants to you're welcome. I don't think she wants to bring around the apocalypse. So she's like, yeah, I want to do evil, bad shit. If Chicago were all vampires, that'd be cool. But not the world. Come on. So the Black Council are like the crazy people, right? And in a way that kind of ties in if they go full on outsider cultist, Cthulhu. you're gonna eventually see these guys are like totally fucking unhinged, whereas right now they're kind of like practical in a way. They're like effective and evil, but not crazy. I don't know. It's just.
I mean, part of it is since we don't know Mavra's motivations, so it could be one, the circle, the Black Council is, and this could be a general rule, is comprised of a bunch of different people that have the same maybe general goal, but also probably think their way is the best way. Your guys like Cal and Kumori and Peabody, and everybody, they may or may not be working towards the same goal, but they're narcissists. They're going to think they're going to want to do for themselves. There's the possibility that they had a falling out when they start doing this. Maybe Mavra clues into this this preparation for the Dark Hollow, and she sees it as a threat, if that's what it turns out to be, to the Black Court, and that's a line for her. So she's like, okay, well, let's get Harry involved as a wrench.
Right.
There's ways it could go.
The circle could just straight up not be like the Black Council too.
But
you're gonna turn it into the Olympics, though, right?
That seems far less likely.
Yeah, I mean, in either way, like the circle, we know potentially 2 members. 2 points makes a line, not a circle. So there's definitely got to be more people involved, but who and how far and how many and all of those things.
Right, and the circle is what they call themselves, right?
Yeah,
I think it's only mentioned by Cowl in White Knight.
Right. So I mean, what Harry calls the amalgamation of the same thing is just that's what he calls them. That doesn't make them not the same thing.
No, but what I mean is that they're just like it's just like it's not sure Cowl is like part of because the Black Council is essentially the infection, right? And the growth that is like working towards getting outsiders in. Mm-hmm. It's like that's the Black Council's actual agenda.
Okay.
Or am I wrong there?
Well, I mean, that's the general idea, but
we've been speculating on that, and I mean that seems to be their most common goal. Most of what they've been working towards seems to be geared towards bringing outsiders in. Like if you look at all of it, and what is the first 3 books, especially since that's what we've talked about so far, what do these decisions ultimately lead to, right? That seems to be the case.
And it seems hard to think that Cowl is not, even if he's not furthering that goal, he's at least not doing anything really to stop it, because he's the one that gives the athame. It may not have been infected by him, but I have to imagine he knows he's holding.
Cowl gave the athame, and Cowl also worked with outsider power in White Knight.
Right. Yes. He called in the.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe he's kind of being used. Like he's a powerful wizard who has his own agenda.
I mean, maybe
but
he's
infected. For example, to get this outsider power, they were like, okay, we got this athame. We need you to get this to Leah, because he's the one they wanted to infect.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and could be, and we just haven't seen who they are, but at the same time, I guess theoretically we know 3 members of the Black Council, because Peabody presumably was on it as well. But other than that, it's like we don't know enough. Like, was Vittorio on the Black Council, or was he just a pawn?
Probably just a pawn.
Right. And so that's my thing. Is like
for the most Madrigal, though.
Sure. Like for the most part, I think they've been working through pawns and cat's paws and everything like that, but we just haven't seen anybody else, but those 3 that I can think of. So
yeah. I mean, Cal doesn't strike me as infected. I could see him absolutely fooling himself into thinking he is somehow in charge. Oh, but I don't know that he's.
Well, their behavior, as you see them with Cal and Kumori and Deadbeat, both of them seem to have like a little bit of wackishness. Like Cal literally is going like, I don't think I'm crazy. I mean, if I was crazy, I wouldn't know.
Would I know?
Yeah. Right. And Kumori, as she's describing of each other, trying to end death, and ours is a calling and things like that. It's like, you're a bit off. That's not how it works. So both of them might be infected.
Sure. Or they could just
Or-
have the same level as Morgan
It's like,
fanaticism.
I
and
know we're supposed to talk about Grave Peril, but an interesting thought about this whole infection is, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but it's clearly shown in like when he calls out the cat. What's his name?
Cat sits.
Cat said, yeah, that he's just like, oh no, you're infected. Hello, like busted, and it just goes, okay, no further, blah 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 is needed. Robot mode is like all these people who may or may not be infected. Is it the thing pretending, or do they not know and it's like subtly changing them, and then like if it's discovered, it just takes over and it's like, okay, whatever, see ya, guys.
Well, Leah was infected, recognized it, went to Map for help. Maeve was infected, recognized it, and relished it. Cat Sith was fighting it because he wanted to be who he was and not it's another thing's cat's paw.
But doesn't take over, it like pushes them, and then like they can like kind of.
It's probably a lot like any other form of mind control, so there's a battle going on and probably causing damage.
Yeah. I mean, it seems if I had to take a guess, Aurora seemed less aware, and she seemed more like just that she was acting upon what she felt was right for once, as opposed to what needed to happen.
Yeah, and at the end, when she was dying, she said, "Just wanted the pain to stop."
Right.
Like she was probably like feeling pain of that battle going on and misappropriating what was causing it. That's why she was doing and being driven by what she was doing, I assume.
Right, and I mean, Harry describes her as dying confused, I believe. Maeve is a little. I don't remember that she explicitly said she knew. I think it was more that.
Well, once she could figure out that she could lie, obviously that's not right, and she's working with outsiders, bringing them to Demon Reach.
Yeah, that's true. But she could have been another one that, if we're talking about how maybe Cal can be fooling himself, she could also be thinking
Oh, totally.
that she's in control of it.
Especially once Dresden starts saying, well, like, being able to lie isn't a superpower because then you can lie to yourself.
Right. I mean, I think once you get to a certain level of being, when you get to Leah, who can recognize it and fight it off long enough to get help. Me personally, I don't think you can infect someone of Mab, or you can maybe affect someone of Mab or Titania's level if they're not paying attention. But as long as they're more or less on the ball, it's next to impossible. And then
considering that Titania describes herself as, since she's not the one that's guarding the gates, her main purpose is making sure that Mab stays calm and not going crazy. So if Mab gets infected, Titania destroys them both. Yep. She's the check and the safety. So they've already considered that as a possibility, it seems to me.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I was going to say, like, talk about not letting your guard down. Like, Mab would be the last person to do that. So it's kind of interesting in hindsight, because at least twice, I want to say in the books, it's like, oh my God, did Mab go crazy? And it's like, well, yes, but not for the reasons you think. Everyone's like, oh my God, she got infected by something. And that's even what Maeve was trying to sell at the end. But it's like, yeah, no, not really. She just knows who's been infected. And that's how she can ferret it out, is because that's, part of her boon for part of her duties, right? Like, yeah. I'm sure she probably gave, or taught Rashid how to do it, because like, I know the eye is part of it, but he probably got the idea from her, I would imagine, or something like that. So
I think it's even said, the mothers say, right, that like that Rashid thinks that he can like spot all of it with the eye. It's like, nope, not really.
No, he specifically says that it's not a, he's got a major tool that helps, but it's, who is it? Who said, as long as the gatekeeper remains vigilant, the adversary rarely tries, but he's not infallible. Either. He admits that he's not, I think he said using the sight's really one of the, but you don't recommend that.
Right.
So the party in Grave Peril, you have Susan as Little Red Riding Hood. You got Harry as a cheesy vampire, loving it. What was Thomas again?
He was a
fairy.
He was just a fairy. Okay.
Yeah.
A shirtless fairy.
A beautiful
an almost naked fairy.
What was Mavra?
Hamlet, or whatever it was.
Oh,
her usual get up. She didn't dress up, right?
What would
But she did conveniently have a human skull.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Ferrovax cheated. He just used an actual.
Does a uniform count as a costume at that point? Like,
Well, it's not like Mavra's was a costume. Hers was period piece.
right.
That's true.
Hers was just whatever she wears, and she picked up a skull from somewhere.
And hell, so is Michael's. I mean, that paladin thing is straight. I mean, it may not have been made in the 1500s.
I mean, the only one who really put an effort into their outfit was Bianca.
Right.
I disagree. Fake teeth is an effort.
Harry put way more effort into his.
Oh, yeah.
Than
And
else.
you had to get
She had a
makeup.
dress made of actual fire.
Yeah, but it's not like she
It's
was
magic.
going to the party as fire. She just had a dress of fire.
Yeah, she's not Katniss.
Yeah.
Actually, the
I
one who
don't
put the most
understand.
effort in was Leah, because she was training the metaphor.
Well, I think Little Red Riding Hood. Susan probably did about as much effort as Harry did. I'll say that.
Susan
Hmm.
sucks. Who cares?
I mean, there's like 3 people that actually dressed up. Everybody else was just there in uniform, so.
Yeah.
So let's talk Ferrovax. I think Ferrovax is a cool character. The only time he ever shows up, except he gets mentioned in Word of Jim and a little bit later in Skin Game.
Yep.
Ferrovax is awesome.
Ferrovax made quite the impression for how little he's been in the book. Like,
This is literally it, right?
I'm very interested to like see him again, which is in Peace Talks, I think.
Possibly.
Everything happens in Peace Talks. Come on.
But actual no meme. Like I think he said he's going to be in Peace Talks.
Well, I think Jim said that Peace Talks is the book where the general public becomes aware that magic exists, and it's like, so the facade is broken, and people then took that as a dragon appears,
Right.
right?
I mean, every other description has been, I know you all guys all want dragons. We got to save that for close to the end, like book 19, 20.
Right.
But I figure at least Ferrovax in human form, in the human aspect.
Well, we
I
could get
mean,
the other dragon. We could get
shows up-
Pyrovax.
That's true.
But his name has never been confirmed.
It was. That's a word of Jim.
Really? Oh, okay. I'll take
Pyrovax.
your word for it. Walking encyclopedia.
Archive, living archive.
Well, we talked about it a couple months ago because it was Seriothrax was the one Michael killed, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and they're named
Mhm.
after elements. So Sirio, I think, would be wind, right? Air. Pharaoh is iron/earth, and Pyro, obviously, fire.
Right.
Which I feel like he got shortchanged because we clearly see that Pharaoh
Yeah.
can breathe fire.
Yeah.
Unless he can, like do it on the Hannah or Ashley level where it's like Harry does fire, but Hannah is a savant, and Pyro can do fire. Pharaoh can do fire, but Pyrovax is like he becomes the flame.
Oh yeah, I remember I wanted to bring us about Ferrovax. You know how we talked about things happening early on in the books where it's like we don't really know what it is until later. Like for example, ectoplasm with the Loup-Garou.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The powerful beings can just use pure will as magical force, like the Lords of Outer Night, Mother Winter.
Winter.
Yeah, Summer 2, for example, like really powerful things. Ferrovax does the same thing, but Harry hasn't really tried it before, so it's not described that way. But it does that exact same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's also the fact that because he's earth inclined and metal inclined, things like that, he's probably dealing something to do with gravity, which Harry has done later.
Yeah, I mean that the gravity thing is one of those references that I liked that I didn't catch until my second read through, where it's like he does mini versions of his Chichen Itza spell, and it's my birthday too, and I was like, oh holy shit, it's the same thing, just like souped up, but it's never actually like acknowledged, like it's never said as such. It is, it's the same concept. So yeah,
They did it also in Blood Rights. Yeah, in the Deeps.
So we have a word
did he?
of Jim on.
Yeah, he had his cane for help, but he did the same thing.
nice.
So we have a word on Jim on what these dragons are like, right? They're like the Eastern dragons of cosmic harmony and that sort of thing. Is it something like that?
Yeah,
They're still more medieval. Like, I want my cache of shiny things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the difference between European and Western dragons or the difference between a big D and a little D dragon is that the big D dragons are, that cosmic sense. They're the big, up in the heavens and on the big stage, and then there you have your Smaug-like hoarder dragons.
So is Ferrovax the Smaug-like little D dragon then?
No,
But
big
he's
D.
a
Right.
cosmic
So-
dragon, big
I
dragon.
think
He
my
still has his
question
cache.
is-
I mean, Jim told us that like what he was given at the party was a bunch of jewels and shiny things, and that's why he was happy, because it's always a good thing to give to a dragon.
Right. Apparently, it doesn't seem to really matter that dragons are, all dragons generally love shiny shit.
Things.
But yeah, Pharaoh's on that. He's up there with Meb as far
I
as
think he even
goes.
says he could just be boasting, but he's almost like he's like, if my real form was here, it would crush the earth, kind of so some of it.
Well, that was reiterated in another worded Jim.
Mm-hmm.
If Pharaoh comes fully, he's warping reality like Neo in the Matrix.
Right. So this was a setup to a question though. Michael killed Cerothorax.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happens to air and wind now? If the big D dragon of cosmic harmony, the wind dragon is gone.
Well, luckily,
Mab is the queen of air of darkness. Air and darkness.
I suppose so. Mab just picking up the slack.
I mean, I think it's less of a, because dragons are not just like most things. Everyone kind of got usurped as time went on. So dragons don't really cover wind necessarily.
So who has the mantle of Cerothorax?
No one. It's not a mantle.
I'm just throwing that shit out there just for you. Poke, poke, poke. But no, I don't think it's a mantle. And the other thing is you're kind of approaching it from a classical mythological sense, but at the same time, all fairy tales and all mythology is in the Dresden Files. So do you have conventions of the 1800 wind gods that get together and be like, okay, who's over North America right now? So yes, the cosmology hasn't necessarily been ordered to that level, that I'm aware of, but it's interesting. Maybe he's there was a particularly bad hurricane season when Cerothorax was killed, so that disruption.
If it makes you feel any better, he was described, even though he was confirmed to be a big D dragon, because Pharaohvax wouldn't care about a little nothing dragon dying. He was, quote unquote, in some ways the weakest of the three remaining. So,
right.
And why isn't there a fourth either? Why isn't there a water dragon?
Right.
Probably died a while ago.
But there's 4 elements, right?
Well, dragons have, he could have died half a 1,000 years ago,
Yeah.
Right.
Unless it's more like states of matter or something.
Oh no.
I mean, dragons are, you have people, I think he mentioned once about St. George and that whole story being technically a thing with, killing dragons, so.
Right.
Part of it's going to be the early installment weirdness. Dragons have shown up. Pharaohvax has shown up twice, once only by name. So, this might be something that Jim just has to retcon when there's the big kaiju book, book 19 or whatever that is?
I think
Kaiju Dragon.
Is it 19? Which is heel turn 18?
Yeah, heel turn should be 18.
Okay.
Heel turn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's totally the name of it. Up until we get told otherwise, that's totally the name of it.
I made as much of an impression on him as I could when I saw him.
So. Offering him $20 for heel turn.
Yes, that's it. What else can I do?
Right.
But I don't think he has to retcon much with Pharaohvax. He was this big, impressive thing that knocked Harry on his ass, and everything subsequently about him seems to indicate that he's this really powerful dude. And
right.
So, I mean, let's face it. When it comes to Michael and Cerothorax, you've got one, the sword, which is supposedly this great equalizer. Two, if he's doing some sort of a ritual because he's giving Gregor power, maybe he's weak, in a vulnerable state.
Mm-hmm.
There's situational reasons why a big D dragon could get killed, I'm sure.
It is one of those age-old questions, though, because it's it also kind of gives you potentially a feel for Michael's power, and that's something that I try and tell people as well, because it's by the time we've got him in grave peril, he's already in his 40s. And he's already been at this for a while, and he's old, and he's had the sword, and
he's
Harry
already thinking that it's time for him to retire.
Right, and Harry's still this young punk in comparison, still kind of coming into his own, and so it's Michael's already talking about retirement, and so I mean, when you talk about it power balance and RPG levels, Michael could already be the level 20 paladin, he already brought down his big D dragon and whatever, and Harry's barely even started down that road. Because I think a lot of people put Michael in Harry's camp because he helps Harry, but I think Michael really is like over the top, past Harry's equivalent power level. So he's just a much more specific tool, right?
Mhm.
He mostly shows up when Denarians and Big D dragons need killing.
Or outsiders.
Yeah, and I mean he's helped with demons and other things, right? Because that's a big part in Great Peril with it's not Kelshazak, it's what's the name of the demon in this one?
Azathoragal.
Yeah, Azathoragal. So anyway, so like he still gets to do some of those jobs as well, but it's like at that point it's more like coverage, right? Because there's only 3 Knights of the Cross. They can only be so many places, but their primary duty is Denarians. So when that's
I think part of it is he suffers because some of his most impressive stuff is technically off screen. I mean, the dragon was 20 years ago. Fighting outsiders is with Ebenezer and all them. We really only see him cut loose in Skin Game, and even then, he's basically even.
Well, and he was cheating,
Right, and he had the grace, and he was
right.
So, I think that's why he suffers from. He's got, for lack of a better example, he's phenomenal cosmic power, but all these rules and
he's DMPC. He's a DMPC, so it's like he could show up, he'll help you, but he'll only help you where the plot demands it. So,
I've been told that Bean was a Cloudgate, by the way. Message on Discord.
Oh, Cloudgate, not Mirrorgate. Gotcha. I mean, it's
fucking gate.
Listen, it's just
yet.
A big reflective beam.
Quit gatekeeping the gate. It'll be.
What? That's how you get to the outer gates, and that's where Rashid comes to Earth. He comes in through the Bean Gate.
That would be pretty awesome.
Anything Grave Peril we haven't covered is the question. Like we wanted to, because 14 days ago, I'm not sure I remember.
Morgana's athame is equal in value to Amarachius because Leah wanted it, and because the connection that she had to Morgana and things like that.
Well, and it's entirely possible. Like, I mean, it could be a relic like the Blackstaff. We don't know. So she clearly has some kind of power. So.
Yeah, but
it's because
of knife. It has been used in some ritual. There'll be some residual stuff from that.
Yeah, Morgana and everything having to do with that origin story of Arthurian legends and everything. There's so much power in that athame has got to be really valuable. And then it's just like, how much are you willing to pay for Amarachius? Are you willing to pay for the athame? And value.
I mean, to be fair, it was a broken Amarachius. Like, nobody could use it as a holy sword at that point. So,
which was the point?
Right.
It was more valuable to Mavra that way.
The athame is like 2 bits of copper is how much that's worth. But since Amarachius was just steel at that point, then.
But that was the more valuable version to Mavra, because then she can actually manhandle it and then destroy it entirely.
Yeah, true. Unmake it. Yeah.
I mean, they make the comment also in Summer Night, because when Harry talks about how he and Leia are talking about the athame and how it's on the same level as Amarachius, and apparently, more or less according to the word of Jim, it's because it was used but it's because of whose it was. It was hers, Morgan Le Fay's. It was used in a bunch of really dark rituals, and then it, really cool big thing. They start gaining their own sort of power and their own sort of awareness, which is not to say they become intelligent, but they become very extremely dangerous tools. And that one was a very, very dangerous tool.
Of all the things that it was probably used in, and it's almost like, I wonder, like worship of the idea of that tool makes it more important as well.
Couldn't hurt.
I mean, in the Dresden Files, that's certainly something to consider,
Exactly.
Is it's not like it's been imbued with anything, but the faith of, it's been involved in so many crazy dark rituals. That's why it's got power. So interesting.
So yeah, any other comments about Grave Peril? Because we are not doing Grave Peril Part 3.
Grave Peril Part 3 next week. Not have any.
Your grave. Our peril.
Well,
Well,
it'd be
you
my peril if it's my grave.
you had made a. I think the only thing that was on the card was that Lydia was unimportant.
Oh yeah,
She was so unimportant. We put her on the card and then didn't talk
Oh
about
yeah,
her.
just say that
Cassandra's
she's.
tears, right?
You can use any random innocent for destroying Amarakius. Lydia herself was not important.
Right.
Well, yeah, but
Ah.
it was one of
She's
those
only-
things where Harry's working 3 cases and then they suddenly entwine. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Well,
like
yeah, I mean,
literally, she's just there to be kidnapped.
She's important insofar as she came to Harry.
Unless they were trying to appease Kravos more by killing her or something, but like they could have been any random innocent person and Harry would have made the same decision of burning down the whole place.
That's not fair. She saved the president, okay? And
She didn't do
Maybe
shit for the
that's-
president. She just saw it was going to happen.
Yeah.
maybe that's why they wanted to kill her, is because they were afraid of her Cassandra's tears.
Of
Funny.
Cassandra's tears,
Yeah,
noticing
maybe.
that mirror is totally going to happen.
Hmm.
Because she described it's a crossroads and you're at the center of it. It's like, oh, that's just random feel good bullshit. It's like, it's what he's built into it.
Right. It would be so crazy if we had a moment where she like predicts all this crazy shit and then mirror happens and we're like, God damn it, are you kidding me? Like, you set that up how many books ago?
He totally did. Like, that's what she says. It's like, I've seen 3 visions and it's a huge crossroads and you're at the center of it.
Right.
And everything is on fire.
Yeah, my crazy theory for that is that Jim's been delaying peace talks for 3 years so that he's got more time to write Mirror, and that's why he talked more about Mirror than peace talks, especially early on, because it's like Mirror is the one I feel like he's painted himself in the corner. Like, you think peace talks is bad, now just try and go like, oh cool, we're going to do an alternate universe where all the decisions are different and all this other stuff, and we're going to make it believable and blah blah blah. And it's like, holy shit snacks, man.
A lot
You know,
more
I
extra
think-
world building.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more fun for him, but I also think it's going to be more work for him because
That's how world building goes. The more difficult it is, the more fun it is. Trust
Yeah.
me, I've fallen into that trap several times.
Yeah, you should talk about that on High Fantasy.
good job.
That's a segue. High Fantasy is a fine podcast of the Broken Jars Podcasting Network.
It's on hiatus because we're
It's
stuck
on
in world building.
hiatus.
We're still building roads.
Yeah,
Great Scott still happening? Is that a?
as far as I know.
Oh yeah! Woo! Watch Great Scott. Watch Sim Talk. Sim Talk, starring our very own Jacob,
Not this Jacob.
the other
The other
Jacob.
I don't got time for that.
Jacob is in the broadcasting network, not our Jacob is in the Dresden Files podcast. So
Oh yes, I knew
Yeah.
that.
There's kind of
Jacob.
a reason he gets stuck being called EG, even though we all know his name. Is because it's a helpful differentiator.
Oh, and that's why you're director, Alex.
Yep.
Good.
because there used to
call.
be 2.
Yes. What else is what else is there? Well, there's like watch the Broken Jars Podcasting Network shows.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Is that pretty much it?
I don't know. You can find everything that we didn't talk about Broken Jars at XYZ.
In 2
And,
weeks, we'll be doing Summer Night.
Summer
I'm
Night.
always